feel so much better when I do something bad.
You're causing a great deal of trouble.
Don't I always? I want you to use your comets to help me defeat He-Man and break into Castle Grayskull.
Never! Oh, you must let me go, for goodness sake.
I never, ever do anything for goodness sake. Everything I do is for the sake of evil.
But there's some good in everybody.
Not in this body. When are you goody-goody fools going to understand? I am completely and utterly evil. I live to be bad.
Now, why is this book so revelatory? Wasn't he a great hero of the arm stabbies and the butt stabbies? The survival of the wisest is really a continuation of this radical social Darwinian, neo-Darwinian scheme that the technocratic priest class, the science class, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, these weirdos, these creeper-deepers, they're going to be the ones who can decide who lives and who dies. Who gets what in the future, who has a right to this kind of stuff. But it gets even crazier than that. Says that God is actually nature as a whole. Nature as a whole is in this constant flux process. And since it's in this constant meaningless flux process, it's up to the scientific priest class to commandeer evolution and do whatever's necessary for the survival of the species.
Biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media platforms push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
I've been thinking lately, Jonathan, about like the solution to my crisis of identity is to die on the cross with Christ, that he can be reborn in me. I've been thinking lately, Jonathan, about like the solution to my crisis of identity. But what is uniquely nourishing about the Christian surrendering the self, not to the state, your new material God, whether you live in a communist or capitalist country, but to something higher than my crisis of identity. Surrendering the self to something higher.
Christianity in terms of politics is complicated, in the sense that what Christians believe, at least at the outset, is that you will be able to transform the state, but not through revolution. That in fact, the Christians were actually quite, they were submitted to the state that persecuted them. If you think of the early centuries when Rome was authoritarian over them and persecuting them, they would submit to all the rules that Rome gave them except for the ones that betrayed their conscience, except for the ones that were against what they believed to be true beyond what the state proposed. So they were actually model citizens. And they believed that the transformation that would happen would be through self-sacrifice and through self-transformation. That is in some ways the image of the Christian, which is that through holding on to the true light and then be willing to sacrifice your own desires to that, rather than thinking, that we're going to rise up and cause a revolution. The raising up and causing revolution is actually what brings about tyranny most of the time. The French Revolution leads to Napoleon, the Russian Revolution leads to Stalin. These revolutions usually lead to tyranny.
Secret names for everything that we loved. 12 secret names for everything that we cared about. The reason we can't hold our relationships together is we never speak to each other in our old names anymore. When things get dangerous, we reduce it and attempt to make it safe by kind of therapy speak. Therapy speak. Therapy speak. Whereas if we were to take a mythic perspective into the travails of our intimate relationships, the trouble would get bigger, but maybe more magnificent, and in some ways easier to see. And when you can see something, you can negotiate with it. And mythically, that means pay it libation. Does that make any sense? The reason we can't hold our relationships together is we never speak to each other in our old names anymore. I like old things though, I do. I'm given to nostalgia. I knew that as a kid. It was the strangest thing. I'm nostalgic about what we had for breakfast. Yeah, that's not necessarily an impressive trait, but it's true. But the soul is interested in nostalgia. What the soul lurches up and claims, the rational mind struggles to understand. The girl you can't forget. That it turns out there was just one, after all. You need to make a place for that in your soul if you can't make a place for it in your daily watchful life. But you've got to curate it somewhere. And your art is a dignified display of the heartbreak which is the debt of living. The heartbreak which is the debt of living. The heartbreak which is the debt of living.
This is the soul's food. Soul food. What a great image. A word from the divine scriptures made to sound in the ear does more than fire soften the hardened soul and renders it fit for all good things. Woo! Listen to the great golden mouth's conception of the power of music and how it alters us. It can make us fit to love God and other people, or it can make us completely oblivious to spiritual things. I'm fascinated by the science, the spiritual science of music. I'm fascinated by the science, the spiritual science of music. The great Roman consul and then monk Cassiodorus, this is the 6th century in the West, right? He's living after the fall of Rome, the invasion of the barbarians, and he spent the end of his life, Cassiodorus did, trying to prop up Christian culture against the barbarian invasions. And he propounds and comments on in great detail kind of an early medieval theory of music in a unique way in the West, describing in great ways how music can alter the human person, how music can expel the greatest of griefs. Don't we need that today? How it can eliminate fears, how it can appease cruelty, he says. It can abate heaviness in the heart. Yes. It can cause quiet. It can facilitate rest. It has physiological effects. The research shows that it can improve eyesight, alter study, the quality of study and memory retention, elongate concentration, affect pulse and respiration, increase or decrease blood pressure, increase metabolism, affect the brain, and through the brain, the entire nervous system, affect your digestion, your secretions, your circulatory abilities, your nutrition, your respiration, all by music. It's dynamogenic. Fascinating word, dynamogenic. It means it enhances systems of your body that are already working. Music is powerful, truly food for the soul and a spiritual charm from God, and it has incredible impact. Choose well, dear ones, what you listen to and sing. God be with you.
Hey, what's up? You still have another set?
I'm taking my son home.
I can't believe you, Dad. You're embarrassing me in front of the pastor.
Mr. Hill, you just don't get it. This is how we testify.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
You're just making rock and roll worse. You're just making rock and roll worse. You're just making rock and roll worse. You're just making rock and roll worse. You're just making rock and roll worse.
You're just making rock and roll worse.
In the grand tapestry of human existence, there exists a character often dismissed as a mere jester, a whimsical figure donned in motley attire, entertaining the masses with jests and jollity. This seemingly inconspicuous figure, commonly known as the fool, possesses a depth of wisdom that transcends the superficial perception of a mere entertainer. Let's delve into the profound insight hidden behind the mask of folly, exploring how the fool, with the power of humor and a keen intellect, navigates through the complex corridors of human society, even engaging with the most powerful individuals like kings.
Like the first time I listened to you, I read the book. I said, I should probably go clean my room.
Exactly.
I did clean my room. Then I moved on to the next thing.
Correct. It's like, what is the next thing? That's the big question in life. It's like, what is the next thing? What even informs it?
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Exactly. And so it's like, you've got to look to the next thing. Otherwise, the next thing is not going to be available to you. Unless you...
You know, honestly, Dr. Peterson.
Yes.
With all due respect, I actually have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, that exactly.
No offense. No offense.
No offense taken. It's like that's part of the game. It's like, can you figure it out over time?
The presence of fools in royal courts throughout history signifies a fascinating intersection between entertainment, social commentary, and a unique form of influence. While these jesters might have appeared as mere sources of amusement, their roles extended far beyond the superficial, allowing them to navigate the delicate corridors of power with unparalleled finesse. In medieval and Renaissance Europe, fools, often adorned in colorful and eccentric attire, became fixtures in the courts of kings and queens. Their primary responsibility was to entertain the court with jests, acrobatics, and witty repartees. However, beneath the facade of levity lay a strategic role that involved navigating the complex social and political dynamics of the royal court. One of the notable aspects of the fool's presence in royal courts was their freedom to speak candidly in an environment where others would tread cautiously. While courtiers and advisors carefully measured their words to avoid offense, the fool wielded humor as a subversive tool.
Don't clean your room. That's what women are for. Sorry, bucko, but women only want chads with thick jawlines. According to psychology, women literally see men as ATMs who they can cheat on. It's a fact. Women are normies by definition. Any woman will immediately stop loving you if you express any affection towards her. You may think, oh yeah, but that doesn't include my mother. Wrong. Like, you want the blackmail man? Women need to be put in a gulag. They will literally destroy everything unless they are. Oh, or did you think they were gonna stop at Ghostbusters?
The fool is a mirror, reflecting society's absurdities. The fool, adorned in motley and armed with humor, assumes the role of a societal mirror, reflecting the absurdities and contradictions that often escape the notice of the powerful. Through the art of satire and clever jests, the fool holds up a mirror to society, inviting individuals to confront their own foibles and the inherent paradoxes that shape the human experience. This reflective role is not a mere exercise in amusement. Rather, it serves as a catalyst for societal introspection and change. By exposing hypocrisy, questioning societal norms, and challenging the status quo, the fool becomes an agent of social commentary, urging us to view the world with a critical eye while embracing the liberating power of laughter. In this way, the fool's mirror becomes a transformative tool, fostering a collective awareness that transcends the superficialities of everyday life.
What are you saying? You're dead. What do you mean by
hell?
That sounds crazy.
Better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven. That's dominant.
Yeah, we'll see, man.
Dear World Economic Forum, how are you? I know you're probably busy planning for next year's multi-million-dollar elite shebang where you fly private jets that emit as much CO2 in a week as 350,000 cars so you can all sit around in expensive suit jackets with slacks of various colors to tackle your self-proclaimed goal of tackling the dire ongoing crisis of climate change and inequality by lecturing the rest of us on how it's our fault, so we need to eat the bugs and be happy with owning nothing. I sure hope you bring that one guy back so he can talk more about how we are one of the last generations of human beings on Earth.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens.
Because you plan to engineer bodies and brains and minds.
Engineer bodies and brains and minds.
Use all that data you've hoarded to become the future masters of the planet.
Will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Those who control the data control the future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
It's a weird flex, but hey, you do you.
I've been thinking, lately, Jonathan, about like the solution to my crisis of identity is to die on the cross with Christ, that he can be reborn in me. That he can be reborn in me.
Bodies and brains and bodies and brains and bodies and brains.
I'm coming to get you, Barbara.
But bodies and brains and minds.
You know, I had a dream we live in a world where all it takes to rise to the top is a little hard work and dedication, and an annual membership that costs between $62,000 and $620,000 a year, plus a $29,000 event ticket each year, plus additional fees, travel costs, and at least 5 nights hotel accommodations and all that jet fuel for the private jet to go to Davos, Switzerland, where one sycophantically kisses up the global corporate elites and pretends to be enthralled by how many times some guy in a suit who paid the big bucks to sit on a panel on a blue stage in a blue room so he could work corporate jargon buzz phrase babble into coherent and almost meaningful complete thoughts, like about how in these unprecedented circumstances your team building has the bandwidth to pivot and move the needle to achieve synergy.
And your art is a dignified display of the heartbreak which is the debt of living. The heartbreak which is the debt of living.
You know, up to now, I kept thinking that everything science did was good. My training, I suppose. Now I'm not so sure.
Despite the fact that you all seem about as able to conceive of what the average person in Swirl needs as the average person in Swirl is able to catch a break from you control freaks attempting to micromanage all aspects of our lives.
All aspects of our lives.
And shape the world as the control freaks you and your handlers are, just because you've flown in more private jets than we have. I know it was all just a dream. But you still really creep me out. Sincerely, me.
I can't remember when I've had a more pleasant day.
What the heck was that?
Thanks for watching. Pixel Talk will return.
Visit tigler.com for more art, apparel, and things yet to be revealed.
Get ready. For the greatest apocalyptic band of our age. Dirt Poor Robin.